Hey guys, Michael J. Crawford here, and welcome to part 1 of our 40-day fast focusing on the writings of John. Now, I do want to state that at least I'm hoping that this first part will be a little different than the following parts. Namely, that while the church is releasing an online version of the devotional, it's not releasing it until the actual first day of the fast, which means I do not have access to the online version of the devotional as of this recording. So, I will not be able to post the text of the devotional along with my reading of it as I was originally planning. I am far too lazy and far too incompetent a typist to transcribe the entirety of the devotional. That being said, I will be displaying the text of the scripture readings as they come up, because that's not taken from the devotional booklet. That's actually taken from a separate website that I use for my principal Bible study, namely BibleGateway.com. In this particular reading and all the readings after this during this 40-day fast, I will be reading from the HCSB version of the Bible. That's the Holman Christian Standard Bible. There's no particular reason for this translation other than it happens to be the translation favored by the leadership of the Experience Community Church, and so to simply remain consistent with them, I will be using the same translation that they do in their teachings. Now, if there's some other translation that you prefer and you want to do the readings yourself in the NIV or the King James or any other translation, that's perfectly okay. The HCSB is not necessarily superior to every other translation. However, it is a good, solid translation of Scripture. Today, we're going to be reading from the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verses 1 through 28. So, starting at verse 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. All things were created through him, and apart from him, not one thing was created that had been created. Life was in him, and that life was the light of men. That light shines in the darkness, yet the darkness did not overcome it. There was a man named John who was sent from God. He came as a witness to testify about the light, so that all might believe through him. He was not the light, but he came to testify about the light. The true light, who gives light to everyone, was coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world was created through him. Yet the world did not recognize him. He came to his own, and his own people did not receive him. But to all who did receive him, he gave them the right to be children of God, to those who believe in his name, who were born not of blood, or of the will of the flesh, or of the will of man, but of God. The Word became flesh and took up residence among us. We observed his glory, the glory of the one and only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. John testified concerning him and exclaimed, "This was the one of whom I said, 'The one coming after me has surpassed me, because he existed before me.'" Indeed, we have all received grace after grace from his fullness. For the law was given through Moses. Grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God, the one and only Son, the one who is at the Father's side. He has revealed him. This is John's testimony. When the Jews from Jerusalem sent priests and Levites to ask him, "Who are you?" he did not refuse to answer, but he declared, "I am not the Messiah." "What then?" they asked. "Are you Elijah?" "I am not," he said. "Are you the prophet?" "No," he answered. "Who are you then?" they asked. "We need to give an answer to those who sent us. What can you tell us about yourself?" He said, "I am a voice of one crying out in the wilderness, 'Make straight the way of the Lord,' just as Isaiah the prophet said." Now, they had been sent from the Pharisees, so they asked him, "Why then do you baptize if you aren't the Messiah or Elijah or the prophet?" "I baptize with water," John answered them. "Someone stands among you, but you do not know him. He is the one coming after me, whose sandal strap I am not worthy to untie." All this happened in Bethany, across the Jordan, where John was baptizing. Day 1. The first thing John the Apostle does in this gospel account is explain the identity of two people, Jesus and John the Baptist. He begins with Jesus, the Son of God, and the eternal second person of the Trinity. If you had any preconception that Jesus was just a good man, just a good teacher, or just a good religious figure among many, John blows that away before he says anything else. Look at how fundamentally important Jesus is. He is eternal. He is with God. He is God. He created all things. He contains life itself. He contains the light of all light. He gives us the right to be God's children. His glory is God's glory. He gives us grace. He gives us truth. As John the Apostle is defining Jesus, he weaves in the definition of another man, John the Baptist. But do you see how he defines John? He defines John as self-existing, dependent on nothing, but he defines John as being sent from God, not light itself, but a witness to the light, one who ranks below him, one who existed after him, not the Messiah or Elijah or the prophet, but a voice crying out, "Get ready for Jesus." The only way we know John the Baptist is in how he relates to Jesus. John is nothing in himself, but everything in Jesus. So who are you? Are you male or female? Are you white, black, Asian, or Hispanic? Are you rich or poor? Do you have a PhD or a high school diploma? Are you at the top of your career or an unpaid intern? Hopefully, you see now that none of these titles or statuses are anything in themselves. Anything you can say about yourself or anyone else is only true insofar as it reveals who Jesus is. Begin praying today with Psalm 2:7. "I will declare the Lord's decree. He said to me, 'You are my son. Today I have become your father.'"